sound and voice of Jesus, and
Ah,
what is his interpretation, what is his his reading. So it's in respect to Jesus, the author.
okay.
Okay, I'm going to read paragraph number 1. How can perception of order of difficulties be avoided? The belief in order of difficulties is the basis for the world's perception. It rests on differences, on uneven background and shifting foreground, or unequal heights and diverse sizes, on varying degrees of darkness and light, and thousands of contrasts in which each thing seen competes with every other thing in order to be recognized. A larger object overshadows the smaller one. A brighter thing draws the attention from another with less intensity of appeal. And a more threatening idea, or one conceived of as more desirable by the world's standards, completely upsets the mental balance. What the body's eyes behold is only conflict. Look not to them for peace and understanding. So naturally, with the ego's consciousness, it's very natural to see things as some are harder, some are easier, as far as the level of difficulty. I mean, we make that up because we have an ego thought system that's perceiving whatever it is somebody's speaking or somebody's reading, or maybe you're reading. And so we have a way of doing that that's really not there, is what the paragraph is saying. Any comments?
So yes, so he's using it as an example of the lack of order in difficulties. He's using, for an example, he's saying that everything seems different. So there's some things do seem better and some worse and up and down, and we choose based on whatever it is that we consider as the most appealing thing, or the thing that we like the most. And uh, that's how the ego operates in the world. So he's asking us to look at all of our beliefs and differences, and not only our beliefs in physical differences, but ideas and thoughts that are different. He's asking us to look at the ideas and thoughts that we have uh, put up between each other as separators to keep us apart. He's asking us to look at those and recognize that those are no more important than none are more important than any other. That all the things that we have in our world standard that we think about is based on comparison. And when everything is equal, there is nothing to compare. So that's what he's saying. An object is an object. It's a relationship is a relationship. I'm all these things are just what they are. None are more important or less important than others. None are bigger or smaller than others. In reality, they're just equally nothing,
Yeah,
because
it's funny.
they're illusion.
Last week, listening to the convention, the person that was talking was using the Goldilocks parable. You know, of course, Goldilocks, we know, oh, it's too hot. This porridge over here is too cold, but this one over here is just right. So she was using the Goldilocks paradigm as a way to explain, what we have to do as a team to win in November. Get away from this. It was almost as if she actually knew about A Course in Miracles. But there's a lot of people that quote metaphysics and quantum physics without ever having understood or heard of A Course in Miracles. They just know it naturally, or they got it from some other source outside of the course. But the Goldilocks principle was brought up probably last Tuesday night during the convention.
The comparison, and let's just
so
be
well.
What's perfect.
It was so well utilized in her talk.
course, now Goldilocks, when I heard about Goldilocks when I was a little kid, I thought that is not very nice of her to go into their house and and spit all over their food and I had I had no empathy for Goldilocks at all because I thought
She spit on their food.
well she tasted their food.
She
She
didn't
said,
spit. She didn't spit in it.
well, did her saliva get on the spoon that she was tasting their food out of?
But
She
that's not
double
spit.
dipped, Jack.
What's that?
She doubled
She
it.
double dipped.
But still, I mean, she was a thief and and a burglar at least. Not a very good one, but anyway, so-
I
Well,
like to think of skipping down the street and you're holding hands with either the ego or Holy Spirit. And if you're holding hands, like there you are, la di da di da di da, swinging hands with Holy Spirit. Now here comes ego grabbing your other hand saying, look, look, that's better, or that's worse, or there's a comparison here, or you can, any difference that we see, we know that we've dropped Holy Spirit's hand and grabbed onto egos.
yeah,
And they're going to tell us there's a difference here, there's a preference, you're good, there's a comparison, there's, right and wrong, and, what we like and what we don't like. And if we drop ego's hand, we're not going to see, if we can't see a difference in one thing or another, how are we going to see a difficulty, an order of difficulty? We can't.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's interesting because I hear people say all the time, I don't care who wins the election, but I do have a preference. Well,
That means you care who wins the election.
you care, and it's not that that it's wrong to have a preference, but don't fool yourself that you're being open-minded about things if in reality you're hiding in the corner in dread because you're worried about what happens uh in something that, as Jack I'm sure probably is well aware, this is something that has gone on the entirety of humankind and our country democracy here. This has been going on every single 4 years. And yet we
Well,
act as if it was something new and different.
they're all the same. They're all exactly the same, at least since I have been aware of it. But it isn't this huge crime to have a preference. If we're here, if we got incarnated into a body, we know we're still holding hands with ego. We know it. We can drop it every once in a while, but if we have not moved over to spirit completely and can't even see ego, we wouldn't be in a body. So yeah, I'm going to have a preference.
But be honest with yourself
The
about
idea,
it.
the idea is to look at it, and this whole book is about
Yep.
look at what's going on without shying away from it and without denying it, without stuffing it down, but show it. That's what bringing the darkness to the light is all about.
yeah,
Bring it to Holy Spirit and say, look at this with me. Help me understand it.
yes. I love having my opinions, and I love having a personality with different values and characteristics. I love it because you know what? I'm in the dream, and I'm loving the dream, and I'm going to have all different order of difficulty and everything. I do, because my body reacts to things in less pain, more pain. So there's plenty of order of difficulty for me in the dream because I'm using my five senses to make all of my decisions because that's all I've got to work with, unless I can rise above the five senses and get totally into spirit.
Well, and I think that's what that so-called sixth sense is about. It's listening to spirit.
Yeah, all the movies in the world and all the TV shows and all the entertainment was all based on the ego thought system. And they made tons and tons of money on it too. Because we are in the dream. And we just have to admit that we're in the dream and we're going to use the ego thought system quite often.
Well, and look at the first sentence here. The belief in order of difficulties is the basis for the world's perception. If we're in the world, if we get up in the morning and look in the mirror and see a body there, we're in the world and we're perceiving as in the world. And so we're going to see, things of unequal heights, of diverse sizes, degrees of darkness and light. All of the things that are mentioned in this paragraph, we're going to see.
Yeah, this book is trying to make our life totally boring. Whereas the ego thought system is meant to make our life totally interesting and exciting. And, like I have some things I like to eat, other things I don't like to eat. So I have opinions about food and what food I enjoy and the people I like to keep company with and all that.
Yeah.
But
But just as the point is not to just say, well, that's the way it is, and I can't do anything about it, or I don't want to do anything about it because I'm enjoying my life. So why should I change anything? And I think there are a lot of people who have done that, who've just said, now that I know that I can't lose, I'm not going to even try to win anymore. I'm just going to be here and wait for further instructions or let the Holy Spirit tell me what to do or whatever.
and their favorite sentence is, "It is what it is."
It is what it is. Exactly. Exactly. And that's cool. That's good. That's fine.
By the way, none of us can ever afford to wait for the Holy Spirit to tell us what to do. We have to reach out to the Holy Spirit. We have to call on the Holy Spirit. We have to work hard to try to listen to the Holy Spirit. We can't sit back and wait for the Holy Spirit to do a damn thing.
Because the Holy Spirit's already doing it.
But
And we're just waiting for something we don't even know it's happened.
Everyone is called, but few choose to listen.
Yeah.
So we have to open ourselves up to be able to hear the Holy Spirit. But the idea of waiting for the Holy Spirit is a misnomer. There's no such thing.
Yeah, no.
Waiting for the Holy Spirit.
Because the Holy Spirit is already here now doing everything that is being done. There's not a oh, I'm waiting in the wings for you to call on me. No, the Holy Spirit's right here all the time. And
Yes.
the only thing the conflict is we're not willing to listen because we think me personally, I think I can figure out a solution to this problem. I can make a plan to make something work. I can figure out how to do this or that or the other. Sometimes I will exhaust everything I could possibly ever do. I have just gone through everything before I finally say, oh my God, Holy Spirit, help me because I've just done my best and nothing has worked. And it is, and then, maybe I don't get any kind of sudden inspiration, not often do I get that, but I get that I have let go of the problem and turned it over to one who does know. And now I can just expect that answer will be provided, and it is provided. If there's a problem, the answer is already here. The course tells us that. So, why not just ask for the miracle, expect the miracle, and accept it? So
yeah.
Somebody once explained that to me. let me see if I can get it right. If you don't take a step down the sidewalk, Holy Spirit's not going to be able to guide you. You know, if you have to start out in one direction, and Spirit will clearly tell you, that's the wrong direction. But until you take those 5 steps down the sidewalk, and if you just stand there and say, well, I'm going to wait here until I get guidance, which way, you know, whether I should turn right or left, you're going to stand there for a really long time,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
But when you take that turn and say, okay, maybe I'm going to go this way, and Spirit will say, yeah, maybe not, you know, some roadblock will come up, or, you know, some direction will say, nope, that's the wrong way, turn around, babes.
But it doesn't mean that you will listen to it or hear it, though.
Not necessarily, but you gotta, you know, you gotta keep your spidey senses out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to read paragraph 2?
I just want to say one last thing about this paragraph, though. Yep, scroll back up. I think so. It's talking about all these differences that we're going to see, but the very last sentence is the key to the entire thing. We're going to have differences. We're going to perceive things with the body's eyes and the body's 5 senses. But it says at the very end, look not to them for peace and understanding. And I
Yeah.
think that's a very important thing to end the discussion on that paragraph with.
Yeah.
That, you know, yep, we're in bodies. We're holding hands with the ego sometimes. You know, sometimes we let go of Spirit's hand, but don't look to these things for peace and understanding.
Very good. Yeah. Yep. Very true.
Okay.
Okay. Paragraph 2.
I'll read it.
Okay, Lynn, you're up.
Okay.
Good, because I have to turn on my light.
Okay. Illusions are always illusions of differences. How could it be otherwise? By definition, an illusion is an attempt to make something real that is regarded as of major importance, but is recognized as being untrue. The mind, therefore, seeks to make it true out of its intensity of desire to have it for itself. Illusions are travesties of creation, attempts to bring truth to lies. Finding truth unacceptable, the mind revolts against truth and gives itself an illusion of victory. Finding health a burden, it retreats into feverish dreams. And in these dreams, the mind is separate, different from other minds, with different interests of its own, and able to gratify its needs at the expense of others. Wow. So
Mm.
I just wanted to go back up to, by definition, an illusion is an attempt to make something real that is regarded as of major importance, but is recognized as being untrue. So it's a way of, I'm trying to fool myself. I'm trying to think that something is so important that I'm willing to fool myself in order to get it or to have it. And that could be anything, the health of the body, wealth, relationships, a lot of things that um, we that are not real, permanent, true things that will live eternally, that are the real things that Jesus talks about. So that the illusion is my attempt to make it real so that I can continue to believe in it and I continue to live in the world and eat my cake. Uh, so the mind therefore seeks to make it true out of its intensity of desire to have it for itself. But illusions are travesties of creation, attempts to bring truth to lies.
Mm.
And I just find that so, he's pointing directly at, how our ego works, how we buy into the stories that the ego tells us, and make those stories, for one thing, separate us from our brothers. And that's at the end of the part where he's saying, and in these dreams, the mind is separate, different from other minds, with different interests of its own and able to gratify its needs at the expense of others. The key there is, in the dreams, the mind is separate and different from other minds with different interests. And so, this is why we're always at odds with each other, because we have made this illusion of, the illusion of Lynn, who is a student of A Course in Miracles and, loves people and has all these, relationships and whatever. That's really a story that is not the reality of what I am. It's the role that I'm playing in the world, but I'm believing that that's what I am. And as long as I believe that that is what I am, I can never be whole, connected with my brother, because the rules keep us apart. The rules of age and social status and gender and religion, or whatever these rules are that we've made up, how we look, race, all these things are things that we've made up to separate us from each other. They're all illusions and stories that are made up to cover up what's real. And by covering up the reality of our brother, it's impossible for us to actually join them, because they 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 exist only in our imagination. They don't exist in reality. They exist only in our imagination. And I just got that because, yeah, I have an imagination of Jack. I have an imagination of Mickey. I have a story in my mind about what your life is like, and just all kinds of different things that we've talked about that I've heard. But could I, if suddenly Mickey disappeared and I was put in her place in the world, would I know how to be Mickey? No, under no circumstance, because that what I know about you is just this.
It's what we make up about other people. Have you ever met someone and completely fabricated who they
Yeah.
were and made up a whole story in your head? I've done that with people I've dated. You meet somebody and that first impression, you build up a whole scenario. You've even foreseen, the relationship a year down the line, and you built up this whole thing of who they are, and suddenly you get smacked in the face with reality, and you're like, oh my God, I made up somebody who isn't there.
Yep.
That was a complete fabrication.
And they made you up too.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
they might have
Oh,
might have
yeah.
recognized it, but you too. And
Have you ever had somebody tell you something about yourself that you were like, where the heck did they get that?
yes, I
But
have.
don't defend yourself. Let that person have it. Don't defend yourself. Because if we defend, then we're making the attack real.
Yes.
So defense makes us look little. If
Well,
I
I'm not saying I was defending myself. I'm just saying, it could be something about, like, you're so smart about blah blah blah, and I'm like, I have never thought about that topic in my life. It's not even necessarily an attack. It could be something really good, and I'm like, where did they get that idea? I'm
although
not good at that.
yeah. First, be careful not to take credit where credit is due, too.
Oh no.
In other words, a
I
lot of people can't take a compliment. So there's two sides to that reaction. Just keep that in mind.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, and people can have made up a whole story about you that has no basis in reality whatsoever. But the sentence I really like, back to my theme from the last paragraph, sentence 5, illusions or travesties of creation, attempts to bring truth to lies. That's that whole, you're trying to bring the lightness to the dark, and you can't do that. Don't bring truth to lies. You have to bring the lies to the truth so that they can be seen for what they are.
Yeah, that's like truth to lies is like bringing the light to the darkness. It has
Right.
to be the darkness to the light.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
very
Exactly.
good. It's good to point that out. Not everybody gets that.
Yeah.
I've just recently, after years of studying the course and having people saying, oh, you got to bring the darkness to the light. I never understood that until this past year. And all of a sudden something clicked into place. And I was like, duh, of course. You have to bring the darkness up to the light in order for it to be healed. Holy Spirit can't go digging around in your brain trying to find something that you're squirreling away on this side trying to hide it, and then Holy Spirit comes over here and you go, no, 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 I'm going to hide it over here. The Holy Spirit's not going to do that. You have to bring it out and say, okay, here it is. I'm
Yeah,
willing to look at it with you.
yeah, very
Yeah.
true. It's kind of like the vampire can't survive when the sun comes up.
Yeah.
The
That's
vampire
quite
is the
true.
symbol of darkness, let's say, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then
I
when the
love
light
it.
comes, well, never mind. It's
Using a
not,
metaphor, as Keith Kavanaugh likes to call it. I love his
So
accent.
funny. Yeah. He's got humor.
what does he say? What does he say?
Metaphor.
Metaphor. Okay.
He's got an Irish accent, and where we would say a metaphor, he says metaphor.
Yeah.
I love
He's
it.
from Ireland, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, he's in Ireland. So do you want to go into the next paragraph?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay.
All right. I'll read. Where do all these differences come from? Certainly, they seem to be in the world outside. Yet it is surely the mind that judges what the eyes behold. It is the mind that interprets the eye's messages and gives them, quote, meaning. And this meaning does not exist in the world outside at all. What is seen as so called reality is simply what the mind prefers. Its hierarchy of values is projected outward, and it sends the body's eyes to find it. The body's eyes will never see except through differences. Yet it is not the messages they bring on which perception rests. Only the mind evaluates their messages, and so only the mind is responsible for seeing. It alone decides whether what is seen is real or illusory, desirable or undesirable, pleasurable or painful.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know if that could have been said any clearer.
yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I turned on the Olympics, and I don't know where I was coming from and what mood I was in, but when there was a certain race, whether it was in the pool or the track or whatever, and what I was amazed by is how much meaning everybody put into getting the gold medal or getting on the podium with the bronze, even, and how much people were hurt and in tremendous pain when they lost. And I'm watching this and I'm going, oh my God. Boy, look at the dream that we're living. These people are so invested in winning this race. It was like over the top from whatever mood I was coming from. It was like the epitome of the ego thought system, I guess, right?
Yeah, I also was uh have been thinking a lot about sport in general, and the emphasis on winning and instead of let's have a fun game. A big part of the reason that it is that way is because there's money involved in a lot of these sports. And, these young people that are doing the Olympics, they have possibilities of getting, futures and careers besides, the idea of getting a gold medal, which is a great thing as well. Um, but it's been made so that people who are like mediocre athletes who really just love the sport may never ever get into, a situation where they're being uh, lauded for their accomplishments, except, their parents in their backyard or something. But but I guess, I wonder this whole idea of competition to win and lose what it does to our children. When a person is an adult, they can kind of make more of a decision about what they think is important in their life and what's not. I don't think it's inherent in small children to want to be winners. There may be a few of them that are that way and have a whatever competitive nature, but for the most part, when you see very young children, especially playing, they're they're playing together. And when adults get involved and start bringing in these competition like the soccer league or the whatever it is that and investing money in their children going to training and classes so that they can be the best or beat the other. And sometimes the idea is to be able to get to go to a college, you know where in other ways you might not be able to do that. So, you think, well, it's a college thing. But how many, thousands of kids never get to that point who
Yeah.
equally could use going to college as well. So, I think it is a really um I just don't like seeing us putting our children up for sport uh to compete. And I mean, some of these things, these kid things, if the kid doesn't win, the parents kind of go berserk sometimes and do some really crazy things because they, that's how important they think it is to them. And you know I know I belabored the point, but
Well, there's a lot of kids that are a lot smarter than their parents. So the parents aren't always the best teachers. But if I was invited to go speak at a high school about sports and how to put it in balance and in perspective, I would probably be one of the best people to be called on to do that. But the beauty of sport is it does teach kids how to lose and how to be humble and how to win and be humble and how to be a good sport about it. That's what it's all about. And most people who go through athletics in high school and college navigate the world of their career much more effectively than the non-competitive child who comes up and just reads books or play, does something else that is not in some way competitive. So we have to look at
Resemble that remark.
What's that?
I said I resemble that remark.
Okay, but it
That
does.
would have been me.
Well, so if somebody plays the piano, they still have to compete. It's not that they don't have to do sports. I mean, there's a lot of things you do in school where you still have to be compared to others. But they do say that for most athletes, if they have a really good coach, they teach them how to be a woman or how to be a man and how to navigate the world with good sportsman conduct and not be a sore loser or a sore winner for that matter. So there's a lot of good things about sports as we live in this dream of competition. Not everybody has the same ability as everybody else, and somebody who has less ability might work harder than the guy that wins. So you can't judge them on winning that they worked harder and their accomplishment was more deserved. So therefore, the order of difficulty is right there too. Because somebody who worked real hard might not nearly win because they just weren't built to be a winner, at least athletically, let's say.
yeah, I mean there are so many variables, and there again here are all these differences, and where Jesus is asking us to look for samenesses. And I don't want to go back and restructure our past conversation here. Just knowing that, there's a purpose behind all of it. You're right about that because, there are many people who have become who they are either because they lost or won. So, or didn't even make the team. Uh, there's been a lot of things that have been different. Um, but um, the point is, you know, asking, is it true? Asking when we're talking about what is the reality of and the hierarchy of values that we're talking about, it sends the body's eyes to find it, and the body's eyes are looking through the differences, basically looking for, are these people, this person more like, and actually, not to change the subject here, but for the most part, the things that we do in the body as human animals are really being directed by our DNA attempting to replicate and become more more perfect. So, if you've got, some strong athletic, young man who is, good academically or, has a really great skill at, something, you know, that is what the DNA says. Oh, this is really good breeding stock. He's gone through the gauntlet and come to be a champion. And that really is a big part, I believe, of the reason that we aspire to greatness in the world is because we aspire um, to evolve more intelligent people, more, stronger, braver, better, whatever. Not we mentally are doing that. Our DNA is doing this. Our DNA set us up for everything. And the body is just following the
So does
rules.
that mean DNA is setting us up to be a stronger ego?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it's a great tool
I
for the
mean, it's ego
yeah,
setting itself up to be a better ego,
yeah, 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 exactly.
basically. So
Exactly.
that's
Well,
that's
DNA can also make your mind more cognizant of light versus dark. So I wouldn't go so far as to say our DNA is setting us up like the ego to make the ego stronger. It could be just as neutral as having a big influence on your awareness, your self-awareness of the difference in light and dark and how to choose light over dark to get into that awakened state. Could be just as true.
Yeah, and I'm not really talking about that state of mind thing so much as what we do as humans in order to live our lives. We have chemicals in our brain that are telling us procreate. Chemicals in our body that are telling us procreate. That's not because, I love children and I want to have a bunch of children. It's because, I'm set up like clockwork hormones. Men are set up clockwork hormones, man. When it hits, it hits. And there is, I mean, not a hell of a lot you can do if you fall into that that, mating ritual trap. Um,
Every species is meant for survival. So the survival of the species sets up the hormones, the
yeah,
attraction,
yeah.
the coupling up of people, man and woman, mostly. That's just the survival of the species that to procreate, to generate, to keep the human specimen alive.
Yeah, and what's the point of that? What is the point of that? What what I mean, honestly, is there
Every
any?
sentient being has that, whether it's an ant or a bear or a tiger. Every sentient being has the ability and the desire to procreate, to
Yes.
reproduce itself because it has a limit on how long it's going to be here as a body.
Do they know that? How
I
do
think
they
it's
know
built
that?
into the DNA. It's
And
already there.
yeah, how did it get built into the DNA? There's something told the DNA, hey, people who, if people with this characteristic have this happen, then they will become like this, that, or the other. It's honestly, it's the DNA, and I'm not trying to sound like a wacko or anything. I'm just recognizing that, the whole purpose of, why do we even, procreate? Why? There's something in my mind that tells me I want to be a mother. This called hormones. And they rage up in you and make you feel a certain way, and you want to do this. Why? You're being manipulated by something that's trying to continue to live.
I wouldn't go along with that. A lesbian woman still has the same maternal instinct to be a mom as a heterosexual woman.
That doesn't matter.
That's why the lesbian couples adopt children, and the gay male couples also adopt children. They have the same paternal and maternal instinct to father the young. It doesn't go away because you're gay or lesbian.
No, but what is the idea? What is the purpose of the instinct? Is the purpose of
For the
the
ego to maintain itself,
it's to
I
keep
think.
it's to keep it going. It's just to keep this going and keep us invested in it. And I'll tell you, if you guys have children, one of the things that is the most uh fearful investment you can make is having children, because you put yourself in a position where you are responsible for the well-being and safety of another very helpless person. And being that is not an easy thing to do. If you had, like, in your mind all the tribulations you would go through as a parent before you got pregnant with that baby, would you still want to do it? Would it be worth it? And
By the way, Lynn, what does that have to do with the Course in Miracles?
well, very good question, because we're talking about a hierarchy of values. We're talking about
We're talking about the illusion of the hierarchy.
yes, the illusion of the world and all the differences that we see, and the reason that we're seeing all these differences and giving them meaning.
But what you're doing is you're wanting to debate within illusion to illusion when we're trying to separate illusion from truth here in the Course in Miracles.
Well, that's what you think I'm doing, but but all I'm doing is just saying, here's an example of how all of these things, they have nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with us. It's the movement of the the the, the, the planet. Basically, it's the movement of evolution, and all we're doing is hitching a ride. No, we're just watching it and thinking that it's what we are.
Where's that childless cat lady? Let's get her in here.
Yeah, no
That would be
kidding.
me. Here I am
I
with my
did.
cat.
You need to go. You need to go meet AJ. What's his name? AJ. The guy. Yeah, I can't even remember.
Oh,
I can't remember his name.
Vance?
Van. AJ. You need to meet AJ Vance. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. Anyway, I would like to get back to this paragraph
Yes.
because
Okay.
there's a sentence that jumped out at me. The body's eyes will never see except through differences. Yet it is not the messages they bring on which perception rests.
What number is that sentence?
That is
8 and 9.
8, 9, 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah, there we
I'm
go.
grooving on. Only the mind evaluates the messages that the body's eyes bring in. And so only the mind is responsible for seeing. So the body's eyes can give us all these messages of, is somebody athletic, or is somebody a cat lady, or is somebody, and then the minute we see somebody who's big and strong and athletic and winning, we put a value on that. And we see this weak little old lady Mickey with her little cat, that has no prowess, in terms of strength. And we go, oh, not as valuable as this big, strong gold medal winning athlete. And it's only the things we're seeing that's putting a value on anything. And yeah, the
yes, very true.
visuals,
Yes.
the interpretations, but the mind is interpreting, and we have to continually monitor the mind. Is it putting a value on based on what the body's eyes are seeing? Or is it seeing the real person? Is it seeing the real being? Is it seeing the real child of God?
Yeah. Yes, very true. That's a good point. I'm glad somebody is dissecting the paragraph for further clarification.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. Actually, I was just expounding on why it couldn't be that that what the body is showing us has anything to do with us. It's just a machine.
Hey,
Anyways,
7:54 now. Do you want to do one more paragraph?
yeah,
Let's do one more.
yeah.
You want to read, Jack?
Is it my turn? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah.
All
So
right, paragraph number 4. It is in the sorting out and categorizing activities of the mind that errors in perception enter. And it is here correction must be made. The mind classifies what the body's eyes bring to it according to the preconceived values, judging where each sense datum fits best. Each sense datum fits best. Okay. What basis could be faultier than this?
None.
Unrecognized by itself, it has itself asked to be given what will fit into these categories. And having done so, it concludes that the categories must be true. On this, the judgment of all differences rests, because it is on this that judgments of the world depend. Can this confused and senseless reasoning be depended on for anything?
Not a
No.
bit.
Some of these paragraphs are you have to really pay attention.
I think this section, though, is the whole manual to me. There are times when people say, I don't know where to start with a course. And I will say, as much as it sounds ridiculous, start with the manual for teachers and
Really?
read the clarification of terms first, because it is the most clearly written section in the entire book. Like, even some of the workbooks lessons can trip you up, but this could not be clearer. You're perceiving something, a correction must be made, because the mind classifies what the body's eyes bring to it. Just what we said about the last paragraph. Whatever the body's eyes are seeing, the mind is going to classify as better or worse. It's going to categorize orders of difficulty. What
Oh, yeah.
sentence 4 says, what basis could be faultier than this?
Yes. Yeah, the clarification of terms, that's in the very back of the workbook, isn't it?
In the back of the manual, actually.
Well, I mean the manual.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's,
clarification of terms. That's a good idea to start there.
yeah, start there. I mean, I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, and Dove says this every once in a while too. He's like, that lesson should have been, or that section of the text should have been the first section of the text. Why did they put it there? And I'm like, why did they not put the clarification of terms right after the index?
How many people were on the editing? Who were all the people on the editing team that
It was just
put
Ken
the
and
book
Helen.
together? Ken Wapnick was on that team, and Bill
Yeah.
Thetford was on that team, and Helen, and who else? Judy Scutchman
Judy
was on,
Scutch and Ken.
Yeah,
and Ken
and
Watkins.
it came after. It's because they asked for it after the manual was done.
Right.
They
Yes.
asked, we need something to tell us what these things mean, and they expected that they were going to get like definitions, and what they got was compare and contrast, and you figure it out.
You
There's
mean
no
Right.
they asked Jesus to send them that information
Yes. Yep.
after they read the whole script?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So they went back to Jesus, and this is what Jesus gave them.
This is what Jesus gave him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Apparently, the clarification of terms was written in response to a bunch of questions that were sent in by a bunch of study groups.
They were sent in to Jesus,
They were sent to Helen and Bill,
and then they
And-
went to Jesus
and
for
then
clarification.
Helen asked Jesus for a clarification of terms
So Helen had an ongoing dialogue with Jesus.
Yes.
all
she
the time. Yeah,
Absolutely.
all the
she
time.
It
did.
wasn't a one-way channel; it was back and forth.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, she used to try and tell him what to do. Have you ever? You've read Absence of Felicity,
I
haven't
have
you?
not, although Lynn has recommended it to me. I have not
Yes.
read it, and Lynn told me I would like it, so I better read it.
Yeah, you would like it.
Yeah.
And then there's this other book that we're reading called Never Forget to Laugh, and it's the story.
Oh,
of
I love that book. Yeah, that's
Sharon
more
and
about
Lynn.
Bill than Helen.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah, you get to know about these people, and it's pretty darn amazing.
Yeah,
You know what? They're not here now. But it would be good to know a little bit about them, sure.
it would have been great to know them, but unfortunately, I was born a little too late.
Oh, that's okay.
I mean, I was definitely alive and an adult
Mickey, where
when
do
the
you
course
live?
came out.
Where do you
I
live?
am currently in North Carolina.
Are you in Asheville?
Now I'm in Chapel Hill.
Oh, good old Chapel Hill. That's right. You said that about a month
Speaking
ago.
of sports,
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting watching the sports teams this year because this is a very big basketball town.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
of course, today we're on the precipice of the football season, which is insane. You
Yeah,
talk
I
about
can.
the ego is really getting ready to live it up here next week. It starts the football season.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you?
Yeah, Chapel Hill. That's a great town.
Not for football,
He's an
but
eagle.
Well, not so much for football, but it's a great town. I mean,
it is.
also
It
right
is.
in the middle of the Research Triangle down there too.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a big place. A lot of people working there.
It's a very interesting place to live. It's a blue bubble in a very red state. But
It's a blue bubble in a red state. Yeah.
yes, it
By the
is.
way, North Carolina is close to purple. Don't forget, it's close to purple,
Okay,
just a little bit red.
just
And
a
this
little.
year, it may go blue this year.
Don't
Remember,
know. I'm not
you have a
following it.
Democratic. Mr. Cooper is a Democrat, the governor.
Yes, he is.
So they did elect a Democratic governor. So give them the credit for that.